Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about another bandage that all of us need to carry in our first aid kits or our packs, and it's going to be the triangular bandage. Small, inexpensive bandages come typically in a plastic bag like this. My favorite kind is usually going to be the Ever Ready triangular bandage. You can pick those things up on Amazon for $1 a piece or a little bit less. But one of the reasons that it's good to carry these is they are extremely versatile. You can do a lot of different things with these, from making a sling and swath for a arm injury. You can use them in conjunction with one of the padded splints, like Sam splint or something like that, to immobilize a broken arm. You can actually even make pressure dressings with these things for bleeding control. And believe it or not, we'll even talk about how you can use these to make a somewhat decent tourniquet to try to control bleeding. But we'll take a look at some of the few things that you can do with these. So, triangular bandage comes in a package about like this. If you notice in the bottom of them, they will have 1 to 2 safety pins in them. So when we take the triangular bandage out, we're going to unfold it. Be sure not to lose these safety pins because you will probably need them again. So we'll show you how to put this thing on and use it for a sling. It's kind of hard to do to put it on yourself. It's usually easier to put it on somebody. So when we unfold this thing, you take a look at it, and it is just a triangular piece of see-through cotton material, about like cheesecloth. So we're going to take this point here at the bottom, and if I'm going to make a sling for my left arm, then I point that around to that left side. I'm going to then bring this around up and over my neck. The other long end comes around over my arm, comes around behind my neck, and then you can tie it off right here just like this. And you want to tie it to where it's pretty tight, because you're going to get a little bit of slack in the material when you actually let the weight of the extremity or the arm back down into it. And like I said, it's hard to do on yourself. It's much easier to put it on somebody. I can't see to tie it. So once you get it tied, kind of tight, then you can let the arm hang back down into it, and it looks somewhat like this. You can dress it up, and this is going to support that arm. Now, depending on the size of the person, you may end up with this point out here having, kind of a long tail on it. You can pull that back around and secure it using those safety pins. You can also safety pin this up to help keep it closed, so you can see that it's going to support the weight of that extremity. Now, we need to carry 2 of these in our kits, because if you have somebody with an arm or shoulder injury, not only do they need a sling to support the extremity, but they also need what's called a swath to go around it. Now, the sling prevents any movement of the arm up or down, but you can still get this movement from it. And if it's an injury to the shoulder, then that can be an issue. So like I said, with that tail, take my safety pin, pin it back in here, and that's what I end up with. Then I take my other triangular bandage, take it out of its package, and you're going to roll it up to where, or fold it to where it's a strip about this wide. You can put that strip all the way around the body, tie it off the same, and then that's going to keep that arm from having that movement out to the side. So that is a easy way to do a sling and swath for somebody that has a possible broken arm or shoulder injury. So the most common use for a triangular bandage is going to be for a sling to help support a broken arm or an injured shoulder, but it is a bandage, and there are a couple of ways that we can use this thing as an actual bandage. Now, as far as for something like wound packing, this is porous material, but it's not very absorbent, so you really couldn't use these for wound packing, or you could use it for wound packing, but it's not going to be as effective or as efficient as like quick clot or Z-folded gauze or rolled gauze. But to use it in a bandage situation, these things make pretty decent pressure bandages. So if I have a laceration on my arm or leg, or somebody else does, I can use some gauze or some 4x4s or something to put over that wound. Then I can use my triangular bandage to increase the pressure on that. So to do this, we're going to take our bandage out of our package, unfold it, and we're going to start with the point on that short end, and then we're going to fold or roll that until we get a strip of cloth that looks something like this. So if I have a laceration to my arm, it's going to be hard to do because it's hard to tie the knot off by yourself. But I can take the gauze, I can put it over that laceration, then I can take my bandage, put it over that, and I can start wrapping it and increasing pressure every time I wrap it across that gauze. And then I'm going to keep wrapping it and increasing that pressure until I get the pressure as tight as I want it. Keep wrapping, then you can tie it up, and I've made a pressure dressing over that wound. Now, if it's a large wound that is bleeding really heavily, it may be hard to get enough pressure with this on yourself. Now, if you're putting it on somebody else, you can make it pretty tight to where you can get a lot of pressure, but you can see what it looks like. Once you get it as tight as you want it, tie it off just like we did when we were making the sling. So another use for this is going to be a makeshift tourniquet. Now, you can use this as a tourniquet. It's not going to be anywhere near as effective as a commercially produced tourniquet, but if you don't have one of those tourniquets, this might be an alternative that you can try. So first thing we're going to do, just like with the pressure bandage, we're going to take it out of the package. You're going to fold it up to where it's in a long strip like this. You can apply this to your own leg fairly easily. If it's your arm, it's going to be extremely hard to do because you won't be able to get the knot tied extremely tight. Of course, it'd be much easier to do it on somebody else. But once you get it tied as you can get it, take a good strong stick, something that's not going to break, put it through underneath the bandage, then you're going to twist it just like any other tourniquet. If you've got it tight enough, you shouldn't have to turn it but about one time, and that's going to be pretty tight. Then you're going to use another triangular bandage or some Coban or something else to wrap around this to tie this into place so that windlass isn't going to move. Now, these are not going to be as effective as a commercially made tourniquet, and they're probably going to be a little bit more painful. This one hasn't been on but just a few seconds, but it's such a narrow band that it is really painful to put these on. So another great use for this is for eye injuries. So if I have somebody with an eye injury or I have an eye injury myself, then we're going to have to put a bandage or an oval eye pad over that eye, and then we can use a triangular bandage to hold it in place. So if I'm taking care of somebody that has an eye injury, I'm not only going to bandage the injured eye, but I also need to close and bandage the non-injured eye. The reason that we do this is if I have something stuck in this eye and I bandage this eye up and leave this eye uncovered, as this eye blinks, this eye is still trying to blink. So if you're taking care of somebody, we want to put an oval eye pad over this eye, close the other eye, put an oval eye pad on it. Then you can take your triangular bandage and you can use it kind of like a blindfold, put it over both eyes, bring it around behind the head, and tie it off. If you do this, remember, be extremely light with the pressure. You only want enough pressure to hold that bandage in place. If you put too much pressure on the eyes itself, that increased pressure can actually damage the eye and affect that person's vision from then on. But now if I'm out by myself and I've injured my eye, I can take my iPad and put it over this eye, and then I can come this way with it and tie it off, to hold it in place so that it just covers this eye. Once again, be sure to pay close attention to how much pressure you put on this. You don't want to put too much pressure on that eye. All right, so there you have it. That's just a couple of the really common uses for a triangular bandage. When it comes to a triangular bandage, your only limitation is pretty much going to be your imagination, what you can do with it. So pick a couple of these things up, throw them in your kit. I'll actually put a link in the description down below to the brand that I like the best, and you can get them in a multi-pack. So buy a 10-pack, 12-pack of them, put at least 2 of these in your first aid kit, get a couple out to practice with, and then you've got several extra. But be sure to practice with these things, because you wouldn't believe how many times I see students, I see professional healthcare providers that think, oh, triangular bandage, it's simple, you know, anybody could use it. Then they get this thing out of the package and start figuring out that, hey, I've not used this in so long, I don't remember how to use it, and they end up not being very effective with it. That's why I say it is super, super important to practice with these things. But thanks for watching.